So welcome back to Blake's Den, and it's another video on my Ford 3000 tractor. In this video I'm going to look at why the dynamo or the generator system isn't charging the battery. So one of the reasons I'm doing this video is I know there's a lot of people who watch this channel who like their classic minis. Hello to you. And also like their classic Land Rovers. Hello. And classic tractors. Hello again. On all of those things you'll probably find a dynamo, and it just happens to be the case that on this tractor it has a dynamo and it's not charging the battery. So I thought let's go through it one step at a time, because it's actually quite a really simple system to understand, but it's quite different to an alternator if that's what you're more familiar with. So we'll go through it one step at a time, try and diagnose why this isn't charging. So what is a dynamo? Well, it's essentially a DC motor running backwards to generate voltage to charge your battery. So an alternator generates alternating current, and then it goes through a rectifier and a regulator to give you a constant, say 14.5 volts out at all revs, 14.5 volts of DC. Dynamo doesn't do that, it's unregulated output. So on idle this will probably be producing about 8.5 volts, 8 volts say. And if you've got 12.5 volts in your battery and 8.5 volts in here, you've got a potential difference of 4 volts, and voltage always flows downhill, remember that. So your battery will actually end up powering the dynamo, which is not what you want. You want the dynamo to power the battery. So how do you solve that problem? So how do you solve the problem? Well, you have a little box like that called a control box or regulator box, and inside that box is two relays which sense voltage. When the dynamo or generator is chucking out less than the battery voltage, it doesn't allow any voltage flow or current flow to the battery. When the voltage out the dynamo exceeds the battery voltage, it allows flow to the battery. And if you get high RPMs, you might be getting something like 16 volts out your dynamo, which would soon kill the battery. So it has another relay which sort of cancels out the top end and prevents any voltage flow. So it's quite a simple system really. So yeah, let's do some diagnosis and find out what is happening with the one I've got here. The first test to do is I've removed the D wire, which is this wire, from the dynamo, so that gives you your 12 volt output, and the field wire, which is the F, which is this one here, that sort of polarizes it and lets the dynamo know which is positive and which is negative. So what I've done, disconnected those, and I've put a jumper across the D to the F, which is what this brown and white wire is doing. I've then also connected my multimeter up to it, and my multimeter's up here with voltage output. So obviously nothing at the moment because it's not running. So I want to start it up and check what output I'm getting from that dynamo, and basically yeah, just see if it's working as it should do to start off with. So with the engine running on idle, see we're getting about 11 volts. If I rev it up, you can see that's shot up really high. Have to knock it back down again. So that is doing what it should be doing. Also, I just wanted to point out this is actually the wrong dynamo for this tractor. It should have a tacho drive off the back, which is what this goes into, to do the hour meter and the rev counter. But it doesn't have one, so we're just going to ignore that for now. Right, I now need to go around to the control box and look at what's going on there. For this next test, I've got D and F connected together on the multimeter. So because I was getting a voltage output there, I know there's not an internal field breakdown within the dynamo. So next, look at the control box. The next task is to look at the wires going into the control box, clean them up, make sure all the contacts are nice and clean. Yeah, if I'd had the camera on a minute ago, you would have seen 2 Spitfires just fly over, just randomly. If you like car fixing videos of random Spitfires flying over, check out my friend Nitro Sylvia. You check out his channel. He very randomly has Spitfires just flying over his house whilst he's working. So right, anyway, I'm going to get those cleaned and then I'll bring you back. So the control box is down there and it's got several terminals on it. Just so you can see it better, here is another. This one's actually off an MGB, a scrap MGB which I had. So you can see the terminals are labelled. So from left you've got E, which is earth, D, which is your dynamo, WL, which is your warning light, F to your field, and B to your battery. So 2 terminals to the battery. This is exactly the same, and I've gone along and I've tested everything, tested the earth, tested the field, dynamo. I didn't test the warning light because I know the warning light's coming on, so that seems fine. But I'm actually getting no continuity on one of the battery connections. So I need to have a look into a bit more detail to find out what is going on with that. So if I just prop you up here. So this one here, which I've left off, if I put my multimeter into continuity mode, put that in there, and the other end, where's it gone? I connect that to the battery. I should get a beep, but no, I'm getting nothing. And if I take off the other one, see, that works. So yeah, both terminals of the battery. So I suspect this might be my problem, is that this battery wire is the issue. Now, is it the case that the terminal's bad? Or is it the case there's a break in the wiring somewhere, or there's a fuse which is blown? I need to do a bit more investigation to find out where this goes and what it does. So having looked up the wiring diagram online, kind of makes sense. That one I wasn't getting any continuity on gets continuity through the switch. Now I get continuity to the positive side of the battery, but not to the negative side of the battery. So there still could be an issue with this ignition switch, is what's causing the problem. So I'm going to try and pop this out, and yeah, that's a horn. Horn doesn't work. Yeah, definitely doesn't. I'll pop that out and see if I can come out below and see if there's corroded contact or anything like that. I know this ignition switch is a bit iffy because I can't get the key out. Oh, yes, I can get the key out. Just wasn't trying hard enough. Right, anyway, I'm going to drop that out and see what happens. With that little hex nut popped off, this drops down and you can kind of see it's not looking that great, is it? So there's the 2 browns for the battery. That terminal looks really iffy. It also doesn't look like we should be doing that. And yeah, very, very dirty. So I'm just going to, one terminal at a time, take these off, clean them up and put them back on again. And yeah, see what happens. I think I might have found the issue, and it's quite obvious. Sort of looking at this and thinking, that connector's different to all of the others. Why is that? Someone's been here before me, which is not a surprise considering it's a nearly 70-year-old tractor, so 1965 it was made. So that should be an earth wire for the regulator box. And in fact, the regulators themselves, just because I've got a few spares knocking around, normally say on them, there's the label there, but it's not very good, and it says basically make sure you've got good earth. When I checked that earth, it's not particularly good earth. When I checked it again, so I'll just balance you up here. Get my multimeter, and we just pull it off. So we do a continuity test from the earth terminal of the battery to this, so this should beep. And it's not really beeping, it's just crackling. To the live, it does, but to the earth, it doesn't. I'm thinking, hello, there's an issue here. So even set it on a really high resistance, and I'm getting practically an open circuit. So something isn't right with that, and the wiring diagram doesn't show two black wires coming out of it, which I suspect are an earth for something else. And because this has got so many broken things on it, I wouldn't be surprised if they just aren't doing anything. So I'm going to create a new earth. So for a short jumper cable, wire that up and see if that makes a difference. So the plot thickens. Taking that off, I thought, hang on a minute, right, if I put my multimeter on earth there, continuity mode, yeah, we've got continuity, great. Normally if you touch anything else metallic, you would still have continuity. Now I know there's a lot of rust on here, but that's bare aluminium by the looks of it. Not getting continuity. Through the diesel pump, I'm just getting a crackle through the engine block. So, is the actual problem this earth? I wouldn't have thought so, because it wouldn't be starting very well if it was that, but there's definitely something amiss here, because again, yeah, if I connect onto here where I've cleaned up, I'm just getting no continuity between there and the battery, or very poor continuity. Let's trace this negative terminal. Definitely a problem here. So I've got a jump lead connected up to a big bolt off the loader bracket. And if I touch the negative terminal, you shouldn't be doing that. If I touch the positive terminal, I get nothing. It's now several days later. I decided to turn the camera off, scratch my head a bit, think about it, sleep on it, do a bit of Googling, and I think I've worked out what's going on. So, the positive battery cable here, which is this green one, I've taken it off, checked that there's no damage on it. This came round and connected onto that terminal in there on the back of the starter motor. If I put my multimeter on that terminal and touch anywhere on the body, it varies continuity of low impedance. So that would actually suggest this is being wired as positive earth. Now, when all of the 43000s left the factory, I'm led to believe they were all negative earth, but some of the earlier versions, preceding tractors like the Dexter and the Fordson Major and stuff like that, were positive earth, and I think some of the petrol ones were also positive earth. Why it's been changed, I don't know. It could have been that the original owner of this had another tractor on their fleet which was positive earth and they wanted it the same. It's just for ease and lack of confusion, which has actually created more confusion, but never mind. So I think I can get this all to work. I need to put that positive lead back on, and then I need to flash the field terminals on the dynamo from the negative. So if you consider that as being like the hot and that as the ground, so that's your plus 12 and that's your ground. If I connect that up to the field terminal, that'll energize the field, and it should all still work, or should work. Right, I need to put it all back together though. I'm going to do that off camera, get that cable back on, and I'll bring you back when I'm in a position to start it, and we'll see what happens. I've gone ahead and removed the control box, regulator box, whatever you want to call it, from the tractor. My conclusions are, so far the dynamo is good, the wiring is probably okay, still a tiny question mark there. This is a bit of an unknown, so I thought I'll take it out and have a look. Sure enough, on the back, look at all this corrosion and dirt and debris on it, so I am going to clean this up. Also as well, I'm going to take it apart and have a look at what's inside. Now, previously I said I think there's 2 relays in there. I think this style actually uses 3 relays and has 3 sets of contacts, and the contacts can get sort of furred up, just like the points do on an old classic car. So to get into this, there's a pin there, and there's another pin there, opposite corner. You just need to push the centre out of that, and then the whole thing should come apart. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So with the centre punch and the hammer, I should just be able to knock those pins out. That's that one out. Flip this over and I can pull them both out, and then we'll see what magic is inside. Right, okay, so straight away I can see there is a lot of corrosion on this. That is really bad. It has a gasket around the lid which should keep everything watertight. It clearly hasn't, because yeah, there's debris in there. You can see there's water staining. So I think this might be beyond repair. The relays still move. The contacts, probably not going to see them, but that's a set of points there. You can see them opening and closing. They're really dirty and really furred up. So I'll clean it up. I'll put it back together. I'll see whether it will work or not, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope for this one. So one quick and easy test you can do with a multimeter is, again, if you set it to continuity, then you can go either side of a set of points and see if there is continuity. So those points are closed and we've got a completely open circuit. So that suggests to me that they are incredibly dirty. Yeah, see, it's definitely an open circuit. So I'm going to try cleaning those up with a piece of trimmed down emery paper, and we'll see whether we can bring those back to life. You'd open them up a bit and then gently rub it through there. You get the idea. I'll bring you back when that's clean. So after quite a lot of sanding, we now have continuity across those points. Now we are at really low resistance, so I need to do the same to the other sets of points. So there's a set of points there, and they open and close like that, and then there should be, yeah, there's another one in the middle there, which is really hard to get to, but I'm going to endeavour, and I shall clean up those. I fitted the control box back to the tractor. I didn't film it. Tractor wouldn't start, battery was flat, charge your battery, whole world of pain. Anyway, long and short of it was, it made no difference. So, because I'm confident the dynamo's working, I'm confident the wiring's working, I splashed out a full £23 on a replica one. It's not a Lucas one, but it's the equivalent of. So, let's see whether that has cured the charging problem. Well, it's running. Did it cure the problem? No, the light is still on. That's on all revs. So, because I know my dynamo's good, it must be the wiring which is at fault. So I can do some quick tests with the wiring and see if that ends up charging my battery. Right then, strange things are happening. What I've got now is I've taken off that earth, which goes to the positive, and I've run a separate wire from the earth terminal through this wire, clamped onto the negative of the battery, which is the hot, because we've concluded that positive is earth. I don't know why it is, but it is. And let's just double check that positive is earth. I've got my multimeter, we put it into continuity mode, we touch positive and we touch the body, we've got continuity. Anyway, I've run that wire now from the earth post to the negative, and watch what happens when I turn it on. So stop is in. So the light comes on. You probably can't see this very well because it's a bright day. The light is on. The light has gone out. It flickers a bit. So you give it some revs and it goes away completely. And if we check what's happening on the battery, .7 volts, steady. If I rev the engine up a bit, there we are, so it's climbing already. So, get a rev. That's actually charging the battery now. So what I've concluded from that is, if we say this is the negative, we forget the fact it's labelled P and it's red. If we say that is the negative because it's going to the body, then that should really be on the negative terminal. So it's actually on the positive terminal of the battery. If I put that positive on the positive and the negative on the negative, then I've effectively got negative, no, I've got negative earth, but coming from the positive post of the battery. But that scares me a bit, so I'm going to keep it like how it is. And what I'm actually going to do, because there's no electrics on this anyway, is literally just the light, the warning light. I'm just going to make my own proper wire, and I'm going to jumper it from the control box, and I'm going to put it on here, and we'll call that done. That's now back together now. I've got a little jumper wire running around to the negative terminal here. So we'll give that another test. Let me just sit you down so I can start the tractor. This may get a bit bouncy. Put the stop in. Get the throttle. So we've just got a bit of flicker on idle. But yeah, that appears to be working. I'll just do a final check with the multimeter and we'll call that a result. Well, I think I'm going to leave it as that. It works. So if something works, then it's a permanent solution, really. Yeah, why do something different? I am a bit hesitant because I don't quite understand how I fixed it. But I have fixed it. I suspect I've got a reverse polarity issue going on here. If you know, and you've had a similar problem, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think of it. The old control box, I suspect, is probably absolutely fine, but I've left the new one on. I can keep that old one as a spare. So thank you for watching. As usual, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It makes a big difference to the channel and in the metrics and the YouTube algorithm and all of that clever stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.